one of the biggest ones, you said it's, when you know what the other team's going to do and you still can't do anything about it, about the Packers, like that's a problem. Well, the Eagles knew what the Packers were going to do, and they did something about it on the 4th and 1 play where, you have TikTokers after the game who are like immediately saying like, hey, look, even I knew the Packers were going to do that here. And that to me was just, that's on LaFleur. That's on LaFleur to like, that can't be the play call in that situation with the 1 seed sort of on the line. Like I don't know if it'll ultimately wind up costing them, but it very well might. And that's what you're doing. We're all sitting back here watching the game going like, what was the reaction like in the press box when that was the play?
Well, press box is obviously,
there's no professional
or anything like that. So for more,
but guys are thinking things.
Yes, very much so. You could still tell there was like again, I don't, whether it's a press box or anything else, everyone in that stadium knew exactly what was coming. It wasn't just the defensive tackle, Jomo, pointing it out and saying inside zone. Everyone knew exactly. I'm sure everyone on TV watching as well knew they're handing to Josh Jacobs on this play. It was the most obvious thing in the world. And yet the Packers were the only ones that thought they were we're in shotgun. It's 4th down. We're clearly going to pass the ball. It's like, if everyone knows you're going to run. Everybody knows you're going to run in that situation. And not only just run the most bland, whatever, not even anything off it. Not even like Jordan Love pretending that he's going to keep it on a read option so that maybe the defender has to stay with him. Just literally, an offensive line that can't run block with the game on the line. Hey, and Philly with some unbelievable defensive tackles who just also happens to be calling out the play you're about to run at the line of scrimmage. Get out of here.
I'm sorry for laughing at the crash out, but
you have to. You have to. Like, it's so stupid. The only thing you left to do is laugh because And how does somebody, I don't care. I don't care if it's the center or if I'm the center, all right. And this is obviously going everything's on Matt here. This isn't on any of the players. He called the play, etc. But if I'm Sean Ryan and they're calling out the play ahead of time, I don't care how many times Jordan asks for that ball. I'm not snapping that damn ball. We're going to 4th and 6 if need to. We'll take the delay of game. I'm not snapping that ball. And if I'm Jordan and I hear inside zone, they're going over here, and I see that, I'm sorry, I'm not calling for that snap. We're either calling a timeout or I'm audibling or I'm going rogue or I'm getting under center and I'm just going to call a QB sneak on my own. I don't care. But man, at some point, if the other, there has to be a, a button that you can push.
Yeah, an alert button. Something like
an alert that you can call. That if the other team knows the play, abort. You just literally abort. I don't care what you do. Just don't run the play. That seems like a bad idea.
Yeah. This is the problem is at Philly, when it's 4th and inches, everybody knows what they're going to run. The reason that's not a problem is because the thing they're running is something they're really, really good at.
Right.
The Green Bay Packers this year have not been good on inside zone. So the thought that again, like Paul, I'm not going to say the season is on the line, but a really important game is on the line.
Big time.
And you say something we've struggled with this game that hasn't worked, that hasn't really gone Super Bowl the first few times we've done it. We're going to roll it out again. You've got to be better prepared than that. And this is why I've been a big Matt LaFleur defender. I have said for a long time that Packers fans that want him gone don't know what they have. They haven't gone through it like the Vikings have. He's a good coach. He wins a bunch of games. But the Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur offensive partnership is just not working. And one of those guys is a person you can replace, and one of them isn't. So at this point, I'm starting to wonder if at the end of the season, barring some miraculous offensive turnarounds like the Rams had of McVay a few years ago, if LaFleur is going to be back next year.
It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, there's a lot of ways this could go. They can turn it around and be great and be amazing the rest of the year. That'd be nice, at least from a Packer side of things. Things could falter very quickly and things could get way worse before they get better. And I still struggle to see an avenue where something could happen in season. But if you go on a major losing streak and you lose the locker room, it's probably not out of the realm of possibility where maybe you want to see what Jeff Hafley can do. Jeff Hafley can do as a head coach. There's definitely some opportunity there if things go really, really wrong. And then other situations are maybe, it goes okay. Maybe you get in the playoffs, maybe you lose in the first round. You're not willing to can Matt, but the offense still looks stagnant. And so, the force is, hey, you're going to still be the coach. You're no longer going to call the plays, and you need to bring in a new offensive mind. Maybe that's a Mike McDaniel. Maybe that's a Brian Dable. Maybe that's a somebody like that you're bringing in that's going to have to revitalize the offense. But usually when that stuff sort of happens, it's kind of the beginning of the end.
Well, it's hard for me to see, given the Packers have had consistent problems being prepared and with penalties, to say, well, LaFleur's such a good coach that we're willing to keep him around if we don't trust him to run the offense.
I feel like the worst spot Green Bay could be in is having just a repeat of how last season's playoff game went, where it ends and you're just kind of left with this bland taste in your mouth. Like you're like, what was that? Because if it goes off the rails, at least you're getting a change in. But if it goes the other way, Toyotathon starts in a couple days here, it looks like. So if it goes the other way, great for you guys. But if you just kind of limp your way into the playoffs, don't really compete in the wild card round, it's like, okay, should we get rid of LaFleur? Do we want to do that? I just think that's a bad mojo going into 2026 as well. Where to me, it's almost better if it goes one of the two ways. Just it's horrible or it's great.
Is it circumventing the salary cap if you pay Toyota to start Toyotathon in September? Is there anything against the rules and paying a league, a fee to get a company to start something a little sooner? That might be something Green Bay wants to look into. But yeah, this is going to be a very interesting remainder of the season for Green Bay, and how they, every good team has a journey that had adversity through the middle of it at some point. And Green Bay is certainly going through the thick of it right now. I think the best stories are the ones where you do face a crap ton of adversity. 2010 for Green Bay is such a great example of that. They were 8-6 on the season. They had 1,000 guys on injured reserve. Even in the Super Bowl, Charles Woodson goes out with a broken collarbone. Jarrett Bush is playing corner. It's a better story when you have to go through the thick of it. And I'm not saying that that's a story they're certainly going to tell. It seems very far from the case at the moment. But the best stories are the ones where you have to overcome a lot of adversity. Green Bay is going through the thick of it right now. Hopefully they can come out the better for it. But this can go one of two ways really quick. And we're about to find out.
Well, you do, sitting back here, looking for reasons to be optimistic. It's very clear through this point in the season that Green Bay is a championship defense. This defense is good enough to go to the Super Bowl. Maybe not on their own, but they are not weak at all. Yeah. The special teams are what they are. That's just not going to change. But there is talent on this offense. And if you want reasons to be optimistic, we're sitting here talking doom and gloom. The Packers are one game away from leading the division, having lost it by 3 to one of the better teams in the conference. Now, obviously, the way they got there is not pleasant, but you've got a couple winnable games coming up here. You've absolutely got to win in New York. If they lay a Carolina Panthers, Cleveland Brown-esque stinker there, the stadium might be empty when the Minnesota Vikings come to town.
Except for us.
From the fans.
Except for us.
But if you win the games against the Giants and the Vikings like you should, we've said that a lot of the Packers, but you're 7-3-1. Hopefully the offense is looking better. You've got the talent on the team. The season is not over.
The funny thing is if everything goes chalk this week, you guys beat the Bears by Vegas favorites. The Packers beat the Giants, and the Eagles beat the Lions. And the Packers are in first place in the NFC North. So, there's a long time left. The other crazy thing is that the Packers are 10 points away from being undefeated. Yeah. 10 points. They lost 3 games by 9 and they tied a game. So in their 4 non-losses, it's by a combined 9 points. So 10 more points in the right spots, and they are undefeated on the season. So just been that kind of year for Green Bay, and it just in very Green Bay fashion too. Of course, the one game Green Bay puts up 40 points is the game that the defense no-shows and allows 40 points. And you can't win the game that the offense shows up in a major way and scores 40 points. And then 3 games where you allow a combined 39 points, you're 0-3 in those 3 games. It's just remarkable of they just cannot play complementary football and show up for a game and be like, you know what, we're going to actually play offense, defense, and special teams for this game for 4 quarters. And imagine that. And the closest was obviously Detroit, and when they did that, they looked pretty damn good.
Oh, when they're on, their peak is as high as any peak in the league, and that's we had so many Packer fans in the comments last night who were just done, and I didn't blame them. When you have games like that, it's easy to just give up. And football is, we talk about all the time how reactionary week to week it is. I mean, I feel like I say that. I think I say that on every single one of our shows. But Marcus Freeman, the Notre Dame coach, who, we almost bring up Notre Dame every show too, it seems, he was talking the other day because, we started off 0-2, and he had a great quote when he was saying, we stay in the moment and we stay in the struggle. And the last 2 years, Notre Dame has definitely started off with some rocky roads. And I think that's sort of what Green Bay's got. Like right now, kind of embrace the struggle. And it's a young team, but they're really not that young anymore. I mean, they're young compared to the rest of the league, but these guys have been around and they've been to playoff games. Like they're a more experienced group than just saying, hey, this is the youngest team in football again. Like they need to look in the mirror and really determine whether or not they're going to turn this thing around. And if they lose to the Giants, it's over. That I'll come out and we'll do the show next week. We'll be like, all right, Andy, it's been great. Well, we'll just talk about the Vikings the rest of the year and how horrible our lives are as Vikings fans. But this is the gut check time.
And of course, the Giants, go and get a new coach right before the game, and I'm probably going to give some unscouted looks. And Green Bay struggled with the Giants in the Matt LaFleur era. Like just, they had the game where, Cutlets, what was his name?
Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito beat him. Like that was a remarkable game. Dexter Lawrence has been an absolute pain in their side. So yeah, Green Bay has actually struggled with the Giants in Matt LaFleur's tenure, and it doesn't make any damn sense. So nothing would surprise me in this game whatsoever. So
the DeVito game was one of the most surprising games I think I've ever watched. Because that was a joke. I'm here in Jersey, and that was truly a joke when he was playing. It was just tanking. Probably the clearest form of tanking I've ever seen in my life. And when they won that game against you guys, I was like, what? What is happening here? So
you mentioned Green Bay's peaks are as high as anyone. Their lows are lower than the Tommy DeVito Giants and the 2025 Cleveland Browns too. That's just what this team's DNA is a little bit. If you just don't know what you're going to get week to week. And if you want to make a run at things, you can't make a 3-game run through the playoffs and through a Super Bowl if in any given week you can lose to one of the worst teams in football. And it easily could be on the table again this week.
Well, and then we kept saying on our show, the Lions, when they have a bad week, they come back and they just beat the crap out of a bad team. They do it. They've done it for years now. When they play a bad team, they leave no doubt.
They're pissed off. Yep.
Yeah. And that's, that to me is a mark of a champion. That's a trait you need to have is can you actually blow out the teams? Not just squeak by, and squeaking by is fine as long as you win, but they go out there and they just embarrass these guys. They show how good they are. And honestly, I think that imposes fear in a lot of teams they play. And Green Bay, they're just a bizarre team. Of all the real contenders, they just seem to have an on-off switch that they have no control of. And I guess we'll just have to see with LaFleur. Everyone's asking, should he be fired? Not now, obviously, but we'll see how the next half of the season goes.